how to save hundreds and even up to $1,000 plus on your food this summer in 2024. Yes, even with all of the inflation and everything that is going on right now, there are still ways to save so much money, especially if you haven't been being intentional with what you are already doing when it comes to groceries. So if you are here live, give me a hashtag live. And if you are here watching the replay, then give me a hashtag replay. I am so excited to share this with you today. Are you tired of managing money the world's way and never having enough? It's time to steward your money according to what the Bible says instead. Because no matter how much money you make, you'll never get ahead financially if you don't learn to implement the biblical principles in God's Word. Hi, I'm Heather Oinas, Christian money coach, and I help you learn to budget biblically, spend and save stress-free, and get debt out of your life for good. Here on my channel, I share tips for doing just that. So be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss a video. Also, join me in my Facebook group, Created for More, where you can get even more biblical financial stewardship tips and join a growing community of like-minded believers to keep you motivated, encouraged, and accountable. And I do believe I'm live, just checking on that. Okay, so I'd love to hear, how intentional have you been with your groceries? Very intentional, not very intentional? Go ahead and put these in the comments. Not at all intentional, whatever that answer is for you, go ahead and put that in the comments. For me and my husband, it has been definitely not as intentional as we would like. And so this summer we are on a mission to change that, which means I'm going to bring you guys and my clients along on that journey. Okay. And so that's why I am presenting this today. So let's talk about this. Oh, and by the way, if you have not met me before, I am Heather Oinas. I am a money coach. I love helping Christian women and couples learn to understand biblical principles about money so they can save, spend, and give guilt-free. It is such a passion of mine to help you in this area, and it is possible. And that's why I'm here today, and that's why I do what I do. So if you feel like you are overspending on food, you're probably here because you do feel that way, right? You feel like, yes, I know I could save on food. I'm definitely overspending, and this is an area where I would love to take back control. So I'm curious, how much do you think you're overspending on food each month? Okay, how much do you think? And a lot of times I will ask clients and they will tell me, they'll give me a certain number, and it's a few $100s, maybe $100, $200 more than they think they're spending. Okay. Well, probably my biggest example where somebody was way off was they thought, they knew they were spending a lot. They thought maybe $1,500, maybe $1,800 they were spending on food. They did have a family of 6. And then when they looked at it, y'all, it was $3,300 they had spent the last month at those places they thought were $1,500 to $1,800. So do not overestimate actually looking at this, because this is likely where a ton of money is that you can save. And I know a lot of you have goals. Y'all have goals for paying off debt, for saving for vacations, saving for a new to you car, right? Saving for college funds for your kids. Maybe you want to invest more. Maybe you want to contribute more to your retirement. You want to be able to give more, whatever it is. If you could free up several $100s or even $1,000 more per month, in their case, it was quite a bit more, right? It was well over $1,000 a month. So if you could free that up, and that was monthly. Now I'm talking in general for most people that is they had a large income. That was a very, more extravagant amount to pay on groceries, right? And by the way, that wasn't even including eating out. So we're going to talk about that too. But if you feel like saving hundreds or even $1,000 plus over the next 2 to 3 months, really this summer, would help you, then you're in the right place. And I want you to really pay attention and be intentional with this, because think about what that could do for your family. What could that extra $100, extra $1,000 do for your family? So as we go through this, be thinking about your own meal planning routine and grocery shopping routine, right? So my husband and I honestly, he cooks the most. And I'm so grateful for that, especially now because I am eating very differently from my family due to some health goals that I have. So I'm so thankful that he takes care of him and the kids. Um, so our routine is definitely very different than the traditional family. Um, so we really have to work together, which can be a very big challenge in itself. And he's also very spontaneous. So while he does do several of the things I'm going to talk about today, we're really getting intentional on how we work together and how we figure these things out. So for me previously, and for my husband as well, we would go to Aldi first, because for those of you that haven't Aldi, it is so much more inexpensive than many places. So if you don't go to Aldi, I highly encourage you to go in there. They save a lot of money because, for one, they don't have anybody picking up the shopping carts from the parking lot because you return it yourself. You've got to bring your own quarter to get your shopping cart, and when you return it, you get your quarter back. You also need to bring your own bags, or if you're like me, sometimes I've been guilty of shoving the groceries in the trunk of my minivan, all around things that are in there because I forgot my bag or boxes or whatever it is that you want to load your groceries in. But once you get used to this routine, it's actually super simple. And I can tell you automatically, if you've never shopped there and you have that as an option, it will save hundreds for you. That alone will save you hundreds. But there's so much more to this. And I've actually found ways to save even more than Aldi. And that's what we're going to get into. And that's what I'm really going to be working on with the ladies in Financial Freedom God's Way this summer, because we are going to really zone in on this. I'm going to give you some very hands-on support in this. We're going to walk through all these things together in a very step-by-step process to help you develop a new grocery savings routine and ideally save you that hundreds and thousands of dollars. But I'm going to give you this today, and y'all can totally take this and run with it and do the same thing. So or in addition to Aldi, I should say, Aldi does not have everything. It's not a typical grocery store where you can literally get practically everything you need. There's a lot of things they're not going to carry. To fulfill the other things that we wanted, and also their brand names are usually a lot more expensive than other stores. So while their generics are super cheap, the brand names not so much. So you could end up negating your savings if you buy a bunch of brand name stuff there. So for us, after Aldi, we would go to Sam's Club to buy the bulk stuff in unit packages, right? That saves you more because you're buying in bulk. Now, again, you have to actually do the math and look at this, and we're going to talk about that some more. But once you figure out what is the cheapest there, it's really easy to just go in and get that thing, or order online and get it shipped to your front door, whatever it may be. And then we also would go to Walmart, because Walmart would have anything else that we need that Aldi did not have. So it was really easy to just be able to do that. But what I found out, first of all, Walmart's gotten really expensive. Have y'all recognized that? Like, Walmart is not really the low price leader anymore, at least not in my book. But what I found out is there's actually a better way to do this, even than what I thought was already being super smart with my grocery shopping routine, right? So here's a statistic for you. Americans waste an average of approximately 1 pound of food per person each day. Is that not crazy? I don't know. I've been thinking about this since I looked up this statistic. I don't know if our family actually wastes that much, but we definitely waste food. And I know we are just throwing money literally in the garbage when we throw food in the garbage. And it's so sad, right? So this is one of the things that I'm really focusing on. And this is one of the things that will really help you as well. So I'd love to hear, like, are you really, really good about not wasting food? Like, you make sure you eat everything in the fridge before it goes bad. Almost everything, pantry. Even when we do throw stuff away, I'm like, that could have been a whole meal. Like, that would have been a whole meal for us, So it might be like random this, and this, but I'm like, this person likes this the best, this person likes, so we could totally have had a leftover night, right? And done really good with that. So are you somebody who doesn't waste as much, or are you guilty, like I am, of wasting more than you wish you would? So yes, wasted food equals wasted money. And if you go on that statistic, it means just from wasting food alone, we're overspending on food by at least 1 pound per person per day. And we have a family of 5. So that's crazy, isn't it? And it really adds up fast. Now, besides wasting food we buy, there's another piece contributing to our overspending on food. And it's really a lack of intentionality. And you'll hear me say this word all throughout because this is really the key that I'm trying to zone in on today. And I want you to think about what you're doing now versus what you would like to do in order to be more intentional when it comes to saving hundreds and thousands of dollars on your groceries. Okay. So we have a lack of intentionality in planning to eat at home more often, right? Especially with our busy schedules. And then in where and how we shop for when we do eat at home. And even I probably should have put on here too, in where we eat out, right? And how intentional we are on picking the restaurants that we eat out at. Because when I polled y'all on what eating out for your families cost, it was anywhere from $50 to $100. And honestly, I would say that's for our family of 5, that's actually being pretty smart. We went to BJ's recently. We don't usually eat out at sit down restaurants like this unless we have like a gift card or something. But we went to BJ's for Mother's Day and it was $77 for our family of 5. And y'all, my husband and I got burgers. Like we didn't even get steak or we didn't get anything that was super expensive, but it was still a lot. So being intentional in where we eat out, and that's why we don't go eat out very much at those sit down restaurants like that. We choose different places that cost a lot less, and I'll share more about that later as well. So I did ask you this in the group, and I would love for you to share, when did you last look at exactly how much you spent in the last 1 to 3 months on food? So eating out, add that up for the last month, maybe even go back 2 or 3 months and kind of get an average. And groceries, add all that up and see how much you actually did. Not taking the time to do this is going to cost you money because I guarantee it, if you have not been paying attention to this, you haven't been tracking it, you haven't been going back and adding it up, you are spending way, way more than you ever thought you would spend. Okay. Yeah, I'm always amazed when my clients come to me and when they start realizing how much they were spending on food and then how much they thought they were spending. It's a huge difference. And then when they get intentional with it, they lower that even less than what they thought they were spending. But in reality, they've lowered it a ton more than what they were spending, right? Did y'all follow that? That's kind of the long way around to save. You can save a ton of money, but you need to know that there's savings there, and you need to realize how fast it adds up. It's so easy to slack in this area, and that lack of intentionality 100% translates into wasted money and overspending on food. And I'm going to share a secret at the end. I call it a secret at the end of this for super sales for the more expensive grocery stores that I wouldn't even step foot in those stores because I just thought they were so expensive for so long. And then I realized there's a trick to it. So hang till the end to see what that trick is and how you can save a ton. And then what can we do about this, right? I love this scripture, Luke 16:10. Whoever is faithful in a very little is faithful also in much, and whoever is dishonest in a very little is dishonest also in much. So we're talking about being faithful with the very little, right? Faithful with the little, in something as simple and easy, not really easy, right? Not really that simple, as our food budget. What does that look like to be faithful with the little, right? First of all, it means getting super intentional in where and how you shop. And every list I see of grocery stores that are like very inexpensive, the best place to save on groceries, yada, yada, yada. All those low price leaders end up being Aldi, which I know about because there's one very close to me, Lidl, which I've never been in, and Winco, which I've never been in. And there's a few more. Those are the ones that I thought of just offhand. I'm curious, do y'all have a Lidl or a Winco in your area? And if you do, what do you think? Are you able to save a lot of money there? Have you even ever been in those stores? Yeah, I'd love to hear. So be sure and comment. And then the other thing is waste as little as possible. So we've already talked a little bit about this, but making sure that we are making sure we're using everything in our fridge before it goes bad, making sure we're not leaving things in our pantry till it expires too long and we can't use it, right? Same thing with our freezer. And then the other thing is taking advantage of super sales, which I will share with you more in a minute. And that's something that my husband and I are really going to be intentional with this summer. And I know that that's going to save us several hundred, even though our current routine saves us a ton from what most people probably do. These super sales are going to be what just really brings our savings up even more. Okay, so basic tips to quit overspending on food and save money on groceries. And I would love to hear if you have any tips to add to this, or even just any tips right now before you know what I'm going to say. I have more, by the way. This isn't the only slide, but I would love to hear, like, what's your biggest tip to save? What's your biggest tip to make sure that you are staying in your grocery budget? And I'm going to take a sip of water while you answer that. So the first one, and the one that many miss, and I missed it and I still miss it, I have to very much remind myself, is to pray first. God wants to provide for you. He wants to give you savings on groceries because he knows for many of us as Christians, we are generous givers. We can give more if we can save on groceries, right? We can do more things for our family. There's just so many, we can do more things for the kingdom. There's just so many things that when we free up money, like the Lord just opens doors for so many other things. And so definitely this is not something too small for you to pray about, right? So pray first. You will be surprised at how he shows up. Before you start your meal planning, before you start going through the routine, the process that I'm going to show you, that's the very first step. Even if you don't have time to go through that process or routine that day, pray first. Let God lead you to the right store that's going to give you the most savings, right? Let him have some things on sale just for you that day. It's so cool to see how he works when we do this. Remember that it is a process, not an event, and that you are to give yourself grace. Nobody's perfect, right? Yes, maybe you do have something left in the back corner of your fridge that went bad and you didn't eat it. Okay, grace, right? Say oops and move on. And next time you'll do better, right? And then come up with a new routine on how to do better. Plan for your meals around your schedule. So most of you, when I asked about what are the obstacles from you eating at home, it was like, we have these sports events at nights. We have all these things in the evenings. We never have a night at home. So what needs to happen? There's nights where our family eats dinner at 4:30. My boys are hungry anyway. They're home from school. They have soccer at 5:30. So we eat at 4:30 and then go to soccer. Some of you, and I have friends where they do not do that. They eat after soccer, right? And we're lucky enough that soccer, I hear these baseball schedules are pretty crazy. So we're lucky enough that soccer ends so that we could eat at 7:30 if we wanted. But that's when we start getting ready for bed. For my boy, like start getting my boys ready for bed. So for us, the 4:30 actually works better than the 7:30. So think about that. Just think through what looks best for you, right? And if you do have to eat on the road because you have multiple things, or you have multiple kids stacked back to back and you're not going to be home, right? What can you eat on the road? Is that going to be more of like a picnic lunch type dinner? Is that going to be a charcuterie board dinner? There's a lot of options that you can use to do that, right? So think through that, like based on your schedule, what are your obstacles? And then how can you overcome that? You want to keep it flexible, not rigid. Hey, Dawn. Hey, Heather. Glad y'all are here. It took me a while to actually get on here because of the new Facebook live streaming things. Oh, it was awful, but I made it. Okay, so the big thing is keep it flexible, not rigid. So maybe you have a list of your favorite meals, and maybe you always have things, you always want to keep things on hand for those things so that it's super easy. Think about your easiest meals, the things that take the least amount of time. You can always have that as an option if you get in a bind that night, right? So keep those things on hand. And then in a minute, when I talk about those super sales at these expensive grocery stores, then you can also use that to really boost your grocery savings over the summer. And keep a list of staples, and that's the same thing. If you know the items that you need and the items that you need to keep on hand, and you keep an idea of an inventory of what you have and how often you've used them, and then you're able to find these things at a super low price compared to normal, those savings stack and stack and stack, and that's what's going to really allow you to save over several weeks to months. So what can we do? What else can we do to save money on food? Prevent as much food waste as possible. I've kind of already talked about this, but fridge, freezer, and pantry clean out. Be sure you're doing this regularly. Watch those expiration dates. Remember, okay, and so this is actually the second time I started live because I thought I was live at first. So I can't remember if I already said that, said this, but in Financial Freedom God's Way membership, we are going to do this. I am going to walk alongside you, and actually we're going to do this throughout the summer. So we're going to have regular times to look in our fridge, freezer, and pantry and do this together and make sure nothing expires. I'm going to walk you through this process in a very step-by-step fashion throughout the summer. I'm doing this for myself as well because my family needs it just as much, if not more. So this is to help me and then to help the ladies in Financial Freedom God's Way membership to be able to do this and actually save that money that they're wanting to save so that they can put it toward other things, right? Okay, and then something we haven't talked about as much is eat out as little as possible. Now, this is a big one, especially I just talked about the sports events and everything that's going on. Yeah, this is a big one. This is a big one. So think about what your eating out looks like and what that how that can change as we talk through these things. Okay. So start paying attention to prices. This was something kind of new to me, especially with Aldi. I just assumed that their price was the best price. So I would just throw everything in my cart, right? How many of you are guilty of that? It's super convenient. Like, okay, if I take the time to add up these prices, it's going to take so much time. Or if I take the time to start learning how much these things cost or comparing things, whatever, it's going to take so much time, right? We feel like that. Y'all, it really doesn't. It actually, if you do it little by little, which we're talking about being faithful with the little, so it makes sense to do it little by little, right? Just start paying attention to the things that you buy the most, right? Don't like try to do it all at once. That's where I've gotten stuck before. Think about the things you buy the most. What are the things you're buying every week, every couple weeks, every month? Those things, like make a list of those things and then start paying attention. How much are they at Aldi? How much are they at Walmart? And then in a minute, when I talk about the super sales, how much are they this time when they're on super sale and how much can you save? We have found a lot of savings, even under the Aldi prices when we do this, okay? You definitely want to make a list. Most of you said when I asked you what your favorite tips were, they said make a list and stick to it. And that's great, but I do believe there's a step before that that you need to be paying attention to. Definitely helps to stick to the list. It also helps if your list is planned around those super sales. So that's what we're going to talk about again in a minute. And then if it's not on your list, do you really need it? Like that's a question you can ask yourself to really keep you on track. Dawn asks, how do you feel about Costco membership? So we don't have a Costco here, but we do have a Sam's Club. And from everything I understand, it's very similar. You pay the membership once a year. Sam's Club is, I believe it's been about $100 a year, unless it's gone up recently. It's been a while since ours charged. We do it. We pay for it because we know that buying those things in bulk, especially with a family of 5, 3 boys that are getting way too close to being teenagers. My boys are 11, 9, and 9. The second one are twins. So yeah, but we do believe that it does save us. I mean, I guess if you really wanted to get technical, you could see, you know, how much it's actually saving you when you add in the membership price to everything. But I think in general, if you're actually using it, and the flip side of this too is impulse purchases, right? Like Sam's has amazing things when we walk in the front door that we could just want to buy all of it, even $1,000 plus outdoor furniture, right now. Like, ooh, that would look great in our backyard, right? So that's the other thing is knowing yourself and knowing, are you actually saving money by going into these stores, or is it actually costing you more because you're having FOMO and you need that backyard patio set, or, you know, you're seeing all these things that you really didn't need, but you're going to buy it anyway because you think it would be great. So are you spending more than you're saving? You got to figure that out, right? It really depends on the person and the family. So if you're doing grocery pickup or delivery, you can actually open 2 tabs on the computer, put all your items in both ones. This really doesn't take very long, and then compare your total amounts. So that's something that you can do to figure out which one overall is saving you the most, especially if it's those stores that allow you to like do online coupons and clip coupons and that sort of thing. And then even whenever you do grocery pickup or delivery, some places this is another thing, y'all, they're getting smart. Like they sometimes charge more for you to do grocery pickup or delivery. So it might be worth it to go in the store every now and then. Either to get an item that they said they didn't have that they just couldn't find, but it's really there. I've done that a lot with Walmart, sadly. It's like the person doing the grocery pickup doesn't know where it's located, and so they totally missed it. Um, or even to see, like, did you overpay? Did you pay more because you did grocery pickup instead of going in the store? So, and the other thing is to go in prayed up. Like, again, like God wants to provide for you in this and for less impulse. And he wants to provide for you in this. And so that's huge. And then also pray for less impulse spending, right? Just like that Costco Sam's Club example. So, and Heather said comparing prices within $1 and driving to multiple locations is not worth it. We buy at one store, usually buy some bulk items monthly at large club store. Yes, I agree, Heather. Driving all around town is not worth it. This is why I pick one store for that week that's outside of my normal grocery shopping habits. So it's usually the one that's closest to me, but it can be one of the others. And if they're offering sales on things that we love for our family, it's worth it to look in those ads. Y'all get those ads in the mail. And again, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it's worth it to look in those and to pick one of those to go into for that week. And yes, maybe a couple of things will be more expensive, but if you're buying a lot of the things that are discounted, then it's worth it. And even at the large club stores, like Sam's or Costco, you really do have to decide, like you really do kind of have to look at some stuff because some stuff is not cheaper. The bulk prices are not cheaper. Now, I will say the one thing that is cheaper for us, paper towels and toilet paper. But when it comes to the food options and then the food sales, super sales, I like to call them, that go on at the local grocery stores, a lot of times we can get stuff even less than Sam's prices, or even Aldi brand if it's a brand that's still that your family likes. You can get things less at Aldi that you could have gotten at Sam's in bulk, but you're paying less per unit at Aldi. So again, it's really cool to pay attention to the prices. I know it does seem time consuming, but like I said, start small. Start with what you buy the most of and go from there. And again, I'm walking you through all of this in Financial Freedom God's Way membership this summer. So if this is something you really want to work on, you want to come out of the summer with a really good routine and with it very streamlined, then you want to check out Financial Freedom God's Way membership and the Grocery Savings Reset Challenge that we're doing this summer. Okay, the last things or another thing's plan to use what you've bought. And again, this goes back to not wasting, right? So are you making your list before you buy? Are you making your list after you buy? Whatever, make sure you use what you bought, right? And then choose when you have time, which this is something that I do not have a lot of, but when you have time, choose less convenient options and cook from scratch or prep if you have the time. Something that surprised me was bone broth, making my own bone broth. It's super good for you, by the way. It takes very little time and saves you tons of money. And if you're buying like the whole chicken, and once you cook the chicken and get the chicken off of it, then you're left with the bones, and you put those in an Instant Pot, put your seasonings and maybe some veggies in there, make it, y'all, it tastes so much better than the store-bought broth, and it's essentially free because you've already used the chicken on it, right? And you've made it yourself, and it makes so much more. So that's one of the things that's actually worth it to us to do bone broth. I'm curious if any of y'all do bone broth or if you make your own broth. And same thing, like you're using that, if you're using that whole chicken versus your boneless, skinless breast, boneless, skinless thighs, whatever, obviously that's going to be cheaper. To buy that whole chicken, you're going to get more, you're going to have more chicken to use in more dishes for a much lower price. So a lot of times I buy the more expensive and I just really look for the deals on those. But there's options for those of you that are good with cooking your whole chicken and doing that route, especially if you have a really big goal of saving a bunch of money around groceries. And then remember, you can freeze the extras, right? You can freeze things that aren't going to stay good long enough. So that's something that really helps. I even have a friend who freezes avocados. So she actually scoops the avocados out. I think she uses an ice cream scoop basically. And she just puts it in little dollops essentially on a baking pan and freezes it, and they don't turn brown. So I've never tried it, but she loves it and she says it saves her a ton. So that's awesome. I'm grateful that Aldi has avocados fresh for pretty cheap all the time because we eat a lot of that in our house. Okay, so the biggest, simplest food saving tips, we've talked through a ton, but really it comes down to getting intentional and staying intentional. So as I've talked through this, think about what that looks like for you, okay? Which of those tips do you want to focus on to be more intentional? And write down one. What is one thing I said that maybe you're not doing right now that you would like to think about? That's going to be that. I mean, just start with one thing, right? Like if we try to do all these things all at once, unless we're ready to really do a deep dive, then nothing's going to happen, right? And we're not going to stick to it. So just pick one thing that could help. Now let's get into the supercells, okay? And I'd love to hear, what do you consider an expensive store in your area? So for me, it would be our regional store called Brookshire's. It would be Albertsons, even Kroger. Although I've learned Kroger is not as expensive as long as you're finding the supercells. So I'm trying to think if there's another. For some of y'all, it might be Winn-Dixie, Publix. Trying to think of places that are outside of my area. But I would love to see what you consider expensive stores in your area, what those grocery stores are. And then think about, is there one that's super convenient to you? So Brookshire's is super close to us now, literally 5 minutes. It's the only grocery store that's 5 minutes away. And I've been shocked. I never used to set foot in Brookshire's because I thought it was so expensive, but I've been shocked by looking at the ads and finding these supercells when we can stock up on some things that we use a lot of. And over time, it saves so much more. So this supercell secret, which some of you might already be doing this, but that means you've already been being super intentional. So good job. But if you're not doing this, this was something I learned that that really makes a huge difference. So do y'all get weekly sales ads? I'm curious. And I know it depends on the location you're in, but I definitely get them for Brookshire's. I think now that we've moved to the little town that we're in, I don't think I get Kroger or Albertsons or anything like that anymore. But you can look online. Those places are only 15 minutes from me. So I can look online. Kroger might be a little further, but you can find those ads online, right? It only takes a few minutes to look over. And if you physically have to clip the coupons, all you do is click it. You log in through your phone number, clip the coupon for especially those things. Remember, we talked about keeping your staples on hand, keeping those favorite ingredients on hand. If you see some of those things in these weekly sales ads, check the price. Is it actually a good deal? That's the first thing, right? And if you're not paying attention to the prices, you're not going to know that. But is it actually a good deal? And if it is, they usually run these ads every 6 to 8 weeks. So it's like the same sales or on the same things, not the exact same for everything that's on the ad, but individual things I've noticed, the things that we purchase is usually about every 6 to 8 weeks, they will rerun that deal. So is it worth it for you to look at that and see, like, what are those staples? What are your favorites? And can you stock up on that for the next 6 to 8 weeks, however much you'll use for that time frame? So one of the things for us right now is, or has been for a while, but that I've realized is a lot cheaper sometimes, is butter. So the butter will actually go get cheaper at Brookshire's than Aldi sometimes. And my husband bakes. He learned to bake when he stayed at home with our twins. Um, and he goes through a lot of butter. I'm not the one eating most of it. I just only put butter on a sweet potato. That's the only time I use butter now. But he bakes and he uses a lot of butter. So that's one of the things that we buy several blocks of, right? For whenever, for the next, because I know it's going to be possibly up to 8 weeks before it goes on sale again. So that's something that has saved us several dollars over time. And that's just one item, just one thing that we're buying regularly. So again, pay attention to the price tags, which ones are actually the deals and which ones just look like a deal. A lot of the buy two, get one free things are not actually deals because their regular prices are just so expensive. But again, you're not going to know unless you look. Put those coupons on your phone for the store. Again, like Heather said, you don't want to go to all these different stores necessarily. I mean, you can if you want to, especially if they're all close together, but I like to keep it simple. So I'm just going to one store that's going to get me the most bang for my buck for the things that are on sale that our family uses the most, right? So that's what we generally go into Brookshire's for. And for us, it just happens to be Brookshire's. For you, you can pick another store and figure that out. And for some of you, you might realize you've never really paid attention to those stores or gone into those stores. Y'all, take some time to go. Take some time to go, look around, check out the prices, check out what their coupons or loyalty options are. You might be shocked, or even ask on Facebook in your area for your Facebook friends, right? Like a lot of people are happy to share what's working for them locally. So, um, so clearance in store is another thing. There's produce, if there's produce expiring or meat expiring, Brookshire's will mark it down. It used to be 50%. Lately, I've noticed they're not doing that so much anymore. But maybe even 25%. And then literally, if you're not going to eat it, sometimes I'll make a meal out of that day. I'm like, okay, God, thank you for providing dinner for tonight at a super low price, right? This is what I'm cooking tonight. But other times, I'll freeze it. I'll just freeze the meat, freeze whatever, if it's something that can be frozen, right? You can even ask the employees, like, are there certain days they do markdowns? Um, yeah, there's just, you talk to the employees about things, like you just never know. And seriously, see how God shows up. I guarantee you he is going to show up and he wants you to save money on something so simple as your grocery bill. Maddie says she buys butter in bulk from Sam's. I'll have to look at that, Maddie. I wonder, do you know the unit price for that? Okay, now we're going to get into eating out. So, in general, it costs at least 40% more. And even lately, it might even be more than this statistic. This has been probably a year or two that I heard this. But in general, it costs at least 40% more than cooking at home. How crazy is that to think that you can save so much just for cooking at home? And then the cool thing about it is a lot of times we don't have very many leftovers from eating out, right? If any. So usually when you cook at home, not only is it costing less, but you've got leftovers too. So the way that we keep our eating out costs down is currently, my boys are growing out of this very quickly, but for the most part, we can get kids eat free or cheap on certain days. So if you're in my area, Nukes has kids eat for, I think it's $1.99 each on Saturdays. Slim Chickens is 99 cents each it might be $1.99 too on Sundays. McAllister's is 99 cents per kid's plate. This is by far the best bang for your buck. 99 cents per kid's plate. There's no limit on how many adult entrees they get or how many adult entrees are paid for in order to get the kids eat cheap option. But also my oldest gets 2 kids meals, which fills him up very well. And it's only $2. So McAllister's is definitely one of our faves. There's also, so that's what I'm talking about when I say weekly or monthly discount days. Pay attention to your local places. Jason's Deli used to do, or does something like this every now and then. the free kids meals, and their kids meals are pretty good. And plus you get ice cream if you get ice cream at Jason's Deli as a dessert. So that was a really good deal for them to get that. So call your favorite places, join their Facebook page, whatever it might be that you need to do, and pay attention to when their specials are, what specials they run on what days. And if you do choose to eat out, that's really one of the best ways to do it. And then the other option, which I'm sure all of you know by now, is get water to drink. So that I just can't believe how much drinks have gone up at restaurants. Even sodas, it's just outrageous, And of course, my boys always want that. So if it doesn't come with a kids' meal, everybody gets water. Okay, now with that said, how much do you think you could save over the next 3 months if you start being more faithful with the little using these tips? And I'm asking myself the same thing. I truly believe we're going to be able to save, especially with not paying for the school lunches now this summer. I think we're going to be saving a couple $100s a month by that, and then plus just being more intentional about it. So, and not having all the events like outside of the house, the sports events and stuff. So, how much do you think you could save, right? That's $600 for us by the time school starts again, if we can stick to that and be intentional. And like I said, we were being pretty intentional beforehand. Thanks, Maddie. I'm going to look at that for sure. So how much do you think you can save? And which of these tips do you want to implement so you can be more intentional, save several hundred, potentially $1,000 plus? All of this so that you're not overspending on food and you're saving on groceries over the next 3 months. I'm just saying 3 months because I kind of want to give you a time frame so you can really think about what's possible, right? I love when, I don't want y'all to just watch this and be like, oh yeah, that sounds great, and then don't do it, right? I really want y'all to succeed with this. And then as we talk through all of this, what will your new and improved meal planning and grocery shopping routine look like? What are you willing to try, right? I know some of you are kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I was like that too. When my mentor told me, Heather, you realize you can be saving a lot more money even from your routine that you're doing now, which is a lot better than what others are doing. She's like, do you realize you're missing out on a lot of savings? She's like, give it a chance. Give it a chance. Start looking at those ads, start seeing, start actually paying attention to the unit prices. And I was really surprised. And now it's time for me to get back on track again because that's been, gosh, not quite a year, but close to a year ago when we really started doing this and recognized all the savings. So what will yours look like? And here's my challenge to you. Are you going to take these steps and create your new routine on your own? Are you going to get out of the current routine that you've been in for so long in order to try this? Or do you need accountability? And would you love some hands-on walkthrough to make sure that you do this and that you actually stick to what you're hoping for this summer? If you want support inside the Financial Freedom God's Way membership, we're also doing a grocery savings challenge this summer. It's essentially a reset. Build your new routines around groceries so that when school starts, you are ready to go. You have a great routine in place. You are very well versed in the savings that you can get. You're very well versed in the unit prices for the things your family buys the most. It's going to be a hands-on live guidance and accountability to make sure that you're following these tips and that you're taking action all summer long. So it is now open. It's been open for about a week. Well, I don't know, a little more than that now. But enrollment for Financial Freedom God's Way membership is closing on May 28th. So you have until May 28th to join. It's actually a full program with 8 practical financial lessons, but also 8 spiritual lessons. More like not really spiritual lessons, but more like a Bible study guiding you through growing closer to the Lord as you put new practices in place with your money. So this grocery savings challenge is just simply a bonus offered within it, but this other part is the meat of it. And it's literally created to transform your finances God's way in less than 4 months. You can shed money guilt. We're going to be getting rid of that money guilt budgeting with confidence, and become a savvy steward of the money God blesses you with. Savvy steward of the money God blesses you with. The whole goal with this, and as the Holy Spirit led me in creating each of these lessons, and he changed what I had planned for y'all all throughout it. I was just like, okay, God, I hear you. How am I going to get this ready by tomorrow? Because the next lesson's tomorrow. But now it's all done. He totally guided me through what I truly believe, if this is for you, that you need. It's really to embrace a biblical approach to money management and say goodbye to past money mistakes. It's open until May 28th. It's for you if you're a sister in Christ, you want support, accountability, and a proven process to take back control of the income God gives you, not just groceries, but every area of your finances, definitely including groceries, right? It's for you if you want to grow closer to the Lord and watch Him show up as you learn to be more faithful with the little when it comes to your finances. So if you're a woman who is ready to experience freedom in her finances, that's what many of my clients will say. They can't wait to start their financial freedom journey. If you want to continue growing closer to the Lord, there's a huge emphasis on this in this program. That's why it's different from so many other financial programs. I don't know of anyone that's even really related in this way. If you're ready to stop struggling every month, figuring out where the money went, if you're ready to bring order to your finances and find money to save out of your current income, then Financial Freedom God's Way membership is for you. And if you have more questions on it, definitely let me know. You can go to this page and you'll get more details. It's destressyourmoney.com/FFGW for Financial Freedom God's Way. You'll get more details there. You can enroll from there. And enrollment from this round does close on Tuesday, May 28th. All right. So with that said, I would love for y'all to share, based on this training, what are you wanting to be more intentional about? What is your plan for this summer? Heather says she'll be out more during the summer. So yours is switching from how my family is. So you'll probably spend more. That's awesome that you're planning for it. I love that. So the goal is to save $300 by planning, so no waste and throwing out food. Yes, I love that. And then also just think about, like, when you are out, what days do you want to bring your food, bring your lunch, bring your dinner, whatever, versus what days do you want to splurge and eat somewhere that y'all really enjoy at a place that you value, but you can feel good about it, right? Like, that's the point of all this. It's not about like completely cutting out everything, but it's like, what are your goals? What are your goals around your family? What are your goals around your finances? And how do you mesh those, right? So that is, I love that. That's beautiful. Maddie says she needs to meal plan and work towards zero waste planning. Maddie, that sounds a lot like our family. That's what we are working on as well. So I'm actually really excited to see what happens, and really excited to save hopefully at least $600 before school starts again. So it's going to be fun. All right, guys, I am so glad that y'all dropped in for this. I know your time is so valuable. I appreciate each of y'all, and I cannot wait to see what happens. Keep us updated. If you have wins where you go to a different store and you're trying it out, and then you're like, wow, like this was something that I didn't expect, or this is how God showed up in my groceries or my meal planning or whatever, share those in the group. Put #win and just come in there and share it. I know that others can learn from you, and also it keeps you encouraged and motivated as well. So definitely do that. And I can't wait to see how y'all are doing as the summer moves along. So I will see y'all soon. Bye, guys.